If you're searching for the keys to unlock wealth and freedom, you're in the right place. Let's open the vault. Most people know Napoleon Hill as the man who taught the world how to think and grow rich. His words have inspired millions to chase dreams, build businesses, and rewrite their financial destinies. But what almost nobody talks about is the other side of his message, the hidden warning he left behind. Hill wasn't just telling people how to succeed. He was also quietly warning us about the forces that could destroy everything we worked for. You see, success is not a one-way street. For every step you take toward wealth and achievement, there's a shadow just behind you, waiting to pull you back. Hill called it drifting, the silent enemy of success. He believed that more than poverty, more than lack of talent, even more than bad luck, drifting is what keeps people trapped in failure. And here's the frightening part, most people don't even know when they're doing it. Think about it, have you ever set a goal, felt excited at first, but then watched that energy fade until the goal just disappeared into the background? That's drifting. It doesn't look dangerous. It feels harmless. But Hill warned that drifting is the exact reason 97% of people will never rise above mediocrity. And here's the twist, he didn't put this warning front and center in Think and Grow Rich. He tucked it inside another book, a book so controversial that it wasn't published until decades after his death. Why? Because what Hill revealed in it was too raw, too unsettling, and far too real. So, what was this secret warning, and why was the world not ready to hear it? In 1938, in the middle of the Great Depression, Napoleon Hill wrote a manuscript unlike anything else he had ever created. It wasn't polished. It wasn't motivational. It was raw, almost like a confession. He called it Outwitting the Devil. But here's the catch, it wasn't released to the public until 2011, more than 70 years later. Why? Because Hill's family thought the ideas inside it were too dangerous. In this book, Hill claims he had an imaginary conversation with the devil himself. Now, whether you take that literally or symbolically doesn't really matter. The message is what counts. Hill used this dialogue to expose what he believed were the real traps that destroy people's lives. And at the heart of it all was one terrifying concept, drifting. Hill described a drifter as someone who moves through life without purpose, constantly reacting instead of creating. They follow the crowd. They procrastinate. They live by chance instead of design. To Hill, the devil wasn't some red figure with horns, it was the invisible force that feeds on people who give up control of their own minds. Think about how chilling that is. Hill's message wasn't just work hard or have a positive mindset. His warning was much darker, if you don't control your thoughts, someone, or something, else will. And the scary part is, you won't even notice it happening. Now here's the cliffhanger, Hill believed drifting doesn't just ruin dreams, it slowly turns you into a prisoner inside your own life. And he revealed the exact signs to watch out for. So how do you know if you're drifting, or if you're actually on the path of purpose? Napoleon Hill didn't sugarcoat it. He said drifting shows up in your life in ways so subtle that you often mistake them for normal habits. And that's what makes it so dangerous. For example, a drifter avoids making firm decisions. They say things like, "I'll start tomorrow," or "I'll see how it goes." On the surface, those words don't seem harmful. But over time, they reveal a mind that isn't steering, it's just floating wherever the current takes it. Another sign is constant distraction. A drifter spends hours scrolling, watching, consuming, but rarely creating. Their energy is scattered, their days blend together, and years pass without meaningful progress. Hill warned that this is exactly how the devil wins, not by destroying your life overnight, but by stealing it one wasted hour at a time. Then there's the emotional pattern. Drifters often complain about circumstances but do little to change them. They live in cycles of worry, doubt, and fear. And because fear controls their decisions, they rarely take bold steps forward. Hill pointed out that fear, of criticism, of poverty, of failure, is the devil's favorite weapon. Now, here's the part that stings, drifting feels safe. It feels comfortable. You don't notice the chains being built around you because they're invisible. One skipped goal turns into 10. One later becomes never. Until one day you wake up and realize, you've been standing still while the years slipped away. But Hill didn't just leave us with the warning. Napoleon Hill believed the ultimate weapon against drifting is definiteness of purpose. In other words, knowing exactly what you want and committing yourself to it with absolute clarity. Sounds simple, right? But Hill argued that this single trait is what separates the 3% who achieve greatness from the 97% who drift their entire lives away. Think about it, when you wake up each morning, do you already know what your day is aiming toward? Or are you just reacting to emails, messages, and random demands? A person with purpose wakes up already aligned with a mission. A drifter wakes up already behind. Hill compared definiteness of purpose to a compass. Without it, you wander aimlessly, always moving but never arriving. With it, every action, no matter how small, points you in the right direction. And here's the kicker, once your mind is fixed on a clear purpose, opportunities that were invisible before suddenly start to appear. It's as if the world rearranges itself to help you. But here's the part people miss, definiteness of purpose is not just about having a goal. It's about making that goal so central to your identity that drifting becomes impossible. Hill believed the devil couldn't control a mind that had locked onto a definite mission. It's like building a fortress around your thoughts. Now, of course, it sounds inspiring, but how do you actually apply this in your own life? Hill laid out practical ways to transform this idea into daily action, and one of them is surprisingly simple, yet brutally effective. So, what daily practice did Hill believe could train your mind to resist drifting? Napoleon Hill knew that clarity of purpose doesn't appear overnight, it's something you train, like a muscle. And one of his most powerful techniques was the daily practice of self-direction through autosuggestion. Now, that might sound complicated, but it's really about feeding your mind clear, intentional commands until they sink so deep they become automatic. Here's how it works. Instead of saying, "I want to be successful someday," you declare, "I am building a business that earns me financial freedom. Every day I am taking steps toward it." Notice the difference. The first statement is vague and weak, it leaves space for drifting. The second is definite, sharp, and anchored in daily action. Hill believed your subconscious mind is always listening. If you don't give it a clear instruction, it will drift, picking up whatever fear, doubt, or distraction the world throws at it. But when you repeat a definite purpose with conviction, you're programming your subconscious to seek opportunities, filter distractions, and keep you moving forward, even when motivation fades. Another method Hill emphasized was surrounding yourself with accountability. He called it the mastermind principle. Simply put, you can't drift easily when you're surrounded by people who challenge you, remind you of your purpose, and refuse to let you settle. Here's the cliffhanger though, purpose and autosuggestion sound empowering, but they also come with a hidden trap. Because once you decide on a goal, you'll immediately face the very forces Hill warned about. Distractions will multiply. Fear will whisper louder. Resistance will test you harder than ever. So, how do you keep your purpose strong when everything around you tries to shake it? Napoleon Hill warned us of a strange paradox. The very moment you decide to live with purpose, life seems to push back. It's almost as if drifting doesn't want to let you go. Suddenly, distractions become louder, setbacks feel sharper, and even people close to you might question or criticize your choices. Why does this happen? Hill believed it's because definiteness of purpose threatens the devil's grip. The moment you start thinking for yourself, the forces of drifting lose control, and they don't surrender quietly. Fear will rise up. Unexpected problems will appear. Even your own mind will try to bargain with you, maybe I should take it easy. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe later. But here's the hidden insight, this resistance is proof you're on the right path. If you feel no pushback, you're probably drifting. If you feel friction, it means you're moving against the current, and that's exactly where growth happens. Think of it like working out. The muscle only strengthens under resistance. In the same way, your purpose only solidifies when you push through the discomfort. Hill suggested that instead of fearing obstacles, we should treat them as confirmation that our purpose is real and powerful. But here's the chilling part of Hill's warning: most people fail not because they lack talent or resources, but because they misinterpret resistance as a sign to quit. They think the struggle means, it's not meant to be, when in reality, the struggle is the very sign that it is meant to be. So the question becomes, how do you keep moving forward when resistance feels overwhelming, when doubt, criticism, and setbacks seem designed to break you? Napoleon Hill believed resistance wasn't the enemy, it was the raw material of success. He argued that every obstacle carries within it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. But here's the catch: only the person with definiteness of purpose will see that seed. The drifter just sees the problem and turns back. Take failure, for example. To the drifter, failure is proof they should quit. But to the person with purpose, failure is feedback. It's a map showing what doesn't work, narrowing the path toward what will. Hill himself faced years of poverty, rejection, and ridicule before Think and Grow Rich was ever published. If he had taken resistance as a stop sign, his name would have vanished into history. Instead, he treated resistance as training. He also emphasized the power of persistence. Persistence, Hill said, is the antidote to drifting. Every time you push forward despite resistance, you carve a deeper groove of discipline in your mind. Eventually, progress becomes automatic, just like drifting once was. Imagine that, your habits transforming from invisible chains into invisible wings. Another key lies in reframing fear. Hill warned that fear is the devil's most effective weapon, but he also revealed its weakness. Fear loses its power the moment you face it directly. By naming it, studying it, and acting despite it, you turn fear into fuel. Every step you take in the face of fear strengthens your confidence, while every retreat strengthens the chains of drifting. Here's the cliffhanger: purpose, persistence, and courage may guard you from drifting, but Hill gave one final, often overlooked warning. He said there's a deeper trap, hidden even from the most ambitious dreamers. And if you ignore it, success itself can become the very thing that destroys you. Here's the part of Napoleon Hill's message that almost nobody talks about. We assume failure is the biggest danger, but Hill warned that success can be just as deadly, if you don't handle it with awareness. Why? Because once you achieve some measure of success, money, recognition, comfort, the temptation to relax creeps in. You stop sharpening your purpose. You stop training your mind. The hunger that once drove you forward fades, and without realizing it, you slip back into drifting. Except this time, it's even worse. Because drifting in failure feels painful, but drifting in success feels comfortable. And comfort, Hill warned, is the most deceptive prison of all. Think of the celebrities, athletes, or entrepreneurs who skyrocketed to success only to sabotage themselves with addictions, scandals, or reckless decisions. On the surface, they had everything people dream of. But underneath, they lost their definiteness of purpose. Success made them careless, and drifting claimed them once again. Hill's lost warning is this: true success isn't about reaching the top once. It's about staying awake, staying purposeful, and refusing to drift even when life gets easy. Because the devil doesn't just wait for the struggling and the poor, he waits for the complacent, the comfortable, and the satisfied. So how do you protect yourself? Hill's answer was simple, but not easy: make growth itself your purpose. Don't aim for a finish line. Instead, commit to a lifelong journey of expansion, contribution, and self-mastery. That way, success doesn't become the end, it becomes the fuel. And that brings us to the closing key, the one habit that ensures you never drift, no matter how high you climb. Napoleon Hill's lost warning can be summed up in one simple truth: drifting is the silent destroyer of dreams. It shows up when you're broke, when you're busy, and even when you're successful. Which means your greatest lifelong task is to guard your mind with purpose. And here's the final key Hill gave us: discipline through daily self-direction. He insisted that success isn't one big breakthrough, it's the compound effect of small, intentional choices made every single day. Every morning you ask yourself, am I steering today, or am I drifting? That question alone keeps you awake. Maybe your purpose right now is building a business, or improving your health, or simply breaking free from fear. Whatever it is, write it down. Speak it aloud. Surround yourself with people who remind you of it. Because once your mind is fixed on a definite path, drifting loses its grip. And remember this, resistance isn't your enemy, and success isn't your finish line. Both are tests. Both are meant to shape you. The real goal, Hill warned, is not just wealth or recognition, it's mastery over your own mind. Because once you own that, nothing and no one can pull you back into drifting. So the choice is in front of you right now. Will you let life steer you by default? Or will you grab the wheel and live with definite purpose? This is one key, but if you want the whole vault, subscribe.